I'm Jim Collison and live from the Gallup Studios here in Omaha, Nebraska. This is Gallup's Called to Coach, recorded on February 2nd, 2018. Called to Coach is a resource for those who want to help others discover and use their strengths. We have Gallup experts and independent strengths coaches share tactics, insights, and strategies to help coaches maximize the talent of individuals, teams, and organizations around the world. If you do have questions during this live webcast, we have a chat room that's available for you right below the main video window. If you just look down there, there's a chat room, bottom left-hand corner. It says log in. Choose that. Choose the guest account. Take out your name. Take out the guest. Put your name in where it says guest. And hit log in, and then we'll be taking questions live during the program. Today, if you're listening to the recorded version or have questions about custom strengths coaching solutions for small, medium, and large organizations, we do that as well. Send us an email, coaching@gallup.com. Use the contact form right there on the live page. Don't forget to visit the Gallup Strengths Center, just gallupstrengthscenter.com. Actually, a lot of updates through the end of the year at the Gallup Strengths Center, so if you haven't been out there in a while, lots of things to check out. Head out there and log in. And, of course, it has all your coaching resources and training needs. You can also catch the video and now downloadable audio for offline listening available on our coaches blog. Just head out to that, coaching.gallup.com. Kelly Haas is our host today. She works as a business development consultant with Gallup based in our Omaha office, but today she is in Chicago. Kelly, great to have you on Call to Coach, and welcome.
Thank you, Jim. It's so great to be here. Yes, I'm in icy Chicago. Kelly, you're in sunny Florida, so I'm excited for today's session. And thank you, Jim, for having me and everyone for joining us today. So I've been with Gallup for almost 3 years now, and I'm a new face to Call to Coach. And so it only took me about 3 years to build up to this achievement, Jim. So just quickly, a little background on me for context on how I met the famous Kelly Merbler. I work as a business development consultant, and so I partner with organizations on our workplace solutions. And part of that journey for me is building relationships with our strengths coaches to really learn about, how I can be a strategic resource to you and level you up and your journey as a strengths coach. So when I met you, Kelly, you're instantly a magnetic person to be around. And I started to learn a little bit more about your journey. I can hear that you've just had so many successes. And so I thought, what a great opportunity to have you join Call to Coach and really celebrate you and everything that you've built and have the other coaches learn from your journey as well. So I figured to get started, I'm going to go ahead and read your bio to get a clear snapshot of you. And then we'll go ahead and just get started with some questions. Great. Okay, so Kelly Merbler is the principal of the Kelly Merbler Company, which specializes in strengths-based coaching, workshops, and leadership development coaching. Prior to starting her own coaching enterprise, Kelly spent 21 years as a regional executive with a global staffing organization where she was responsible for hiring, developing, and building successful sales and operations teams throughout the Southeast. She knows that the secret of success is hiring good talent, which begins with identifying what people do best and aligning them in the right role for maximum impact internally and externally. Kelly recently worked with clients throughout the Southeast and Caribbean, delivering strengths-based workshops to companies and corporate teams looking to actively building a strengths-based culture. Her most impactful workshops have come from working with the nonprofit, the Florida Endowment Foundation for Florida Grads, which is dedicated to providing support to students through critical transitions in their lives and careers. Welcome, Kelly Merbler. I'd love to have you just give an introduction on yourself, and then we'll go ahead and get started with some questions.
Absolutely. And I am just so excited. I am bringing you sunshine. I was actually just looking at my weather app here, and if you can, I'm sorry, here in Palm Beach, Florida. So I am bringing the warmth to you today. And my word for the day, that I always start my word with a thought and what I'm really feeling today, I chose the word ignited. So ignited, I feel so alive inside, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity.
Very good. Thank you so much. Kelly, I would love to kind of just start off with you telling us a little bit more how you even came across the strength certification, kind of your intention of getting certified, and really on that journey when you did become certified, how did you instantly plug it into your network?
Absolutely. So I was exposed to the strengths movement, we shall say, because I think it is a movement. I was going through a leadership cohort. It was the Serving Leader Institute, and I was invited in. I got a scholarship in to be a part of it. And they used the strengths profile as part of their development plan through the one-year course. And that was the first time I was exposed to it in my corporate career. And when I started reading and looking at it, I'm like, no way. I'm like, how did this know exactly what I'm all about and what I'm like? And I was just fascinated by what it was sharing with me about who I am as a person. So I saw an email come through not too long after that, and I was noticing that the strengths briefing was coming to Fort Lauderdale, Florida. So I signed up and I met the Gallup team that came in, and it was like instantly I walked out of that room after hearing, and I'm like, how am I ever going to afford to do this? I don't know how, but I literally took a leap of faith and I said, I'm putting it on my credit card and I'm going to be there in 30 days. And that's how it started.
That's great. So when you went through the certification program, when you left, tell us a little bit more about, how did you take that certification into your work, into your community, your family? What did that look like?
Absolutely. Well, being an activator in my top 5, I kind of like,
tell us your top 5.
Okay. My top 5, number 1 that is just like exuding in me is futuristic, maximizer, belief, arranger, and activator. So my activator and my futuristic kind of imploded inside of me. And I left that workshop on December 11th of 2016 and went back to work that Monday, called my boss, and I said, OMG, we have got to talk. I'm like, Michael, we have got to talk about this and what I've just learned, and I'm sending you a profile. You're going to take it, and I'm going to come in and coach you on your top 5 strengths. And it started there. And I remember that meeting with he and I, and we sat down and we said, oh my goodness, our internal teams really could benefit from this. So I asked for his approval, and I said, let me do this. Let me go and take it within the organization, and pretty good sized company. I said, let me just be the test, the guinea pig. Right. So I said, let me do it. So he's like, okay. And he was so gracious and said, go ahead, take it throughout the teams in Florida and to Puerto Rico. And starting January 31st of last year, I hit the road. I went on a road show, and I went to every office within the Florida market. And then in March, I ended up in Puerto Rico. And that's how it started internally, to then leading me into our corporate operations in Los Angeles, California, and presenting to our shareholders, I will call them, to say, let me take this and do it with more people within the organization.
It's great. So, one kind of top of mind thing we talk a lot about at Gallup is the 7 strategies to build a strengths-based organization, which starts with leadership alignment. So when you introduced this to your team, did you get any pushback, or was it instantly celebrated? And how did you really kind of what was that process like for you? What did that actual coaching conversation look like, either with the executives or with the groups that you were working with?
Sure. And, I'd love to say it was perfectly simple, that everybody was engaged and wanted to do it, but no, that's not reality. So, I'd say 80%, probably 90% of the teams I presented the idea to in a big annual kickoff that we have, came up to me right after and said, can you come to my office first? And, they got signed up and we put the travel schedule together. But, and it's okay, maybe they're more of the analyzers. They need more of the data behind it. They're not convinced that it's the right thing for them yet. So there definitely was pushback, and that's the real world. And you have to be able to see through their lens and understand that that's just how they see it. And be patient and tone down that activator, because you're going to shut them down real quick. And then we just started, hitting the road, and I did it from there.
It's really interesting about you. It's a lot of that self-awareness for self-regulation, to understand how to connect with people. And maybe the activator approach isn't necessarily the right one, but for so many strengths coaches, having that awareness of how best to connect with people. So that's a really good tip, to kind of that self-awareness for self-regulation. So you took it back to your company. So let's talk about, how did you expand this and how did you maximize this to really kind of draw in other people outside of work to want to partner with you on strengths development? Because as I understand, you've had successes and traction there as well. So tell us a little bit more about how you made your circle bigger.
Yes, and I see that really playing into not only the activator again, because I think it's a lot of my futuristic. I see the opportunities and I test the market. So immediately when I started doing it internally with the organization, I started to connect the dots with, oh my gosh, who else in my network would really benefit from this? And I just started calling people. And I would use my social media, obviously, and I have a decent following where people would start asking me questions. My belief was playing into this like relentlessly, because I think the way I communicate the passion I have for strengths development really shows in how I write, where I can build that visual for people to say, I think I might need to try this. And I literally, nights, weekends, after the kids went to bed, after early mornings, on the weekends, Saturdays, all the time, I would just say, meet me here. I'll give you the profile for free. Let me just sit down with you. Family members, my husband, my kids. I would do it with all of them.
Everyone's taking strengths. That's great. So curious to hear for you, when you decided to kind of take that leap of faith and say, hey, I'm going to go take this strengths coaching business and build the Kelly Merbler company. What sort of planning and, ideas did you put behind that to set yourself up for success?
Sure. And that is such that was a tough one. I'm not going to lie. When you spend 21 years of your life, a big part of your life, leaving college and then going into a job and not working anywhere else for 21 years, this is not a decision that comes overnight. There's a lot of thought into it and questioning and saying, am I making the right decision? But the planning, it wasn't like a moment where I said, okay, like I'm going to start digging in and writing my business plan. It just organically formed when I kept doing strengths with more people, and people would ask me to come in and talk to them about it. And it was like this natural progression of leading up to that moment where I finally did literally jump off the cliff as the activator and said, I don't even question if I'm making the right decision, because if I'm not for any reason, I know I can do something. I don't care if I have to go flip hamburgers, but I know I can do something. But I have a point in my life that I have hit where it was December 15th of this past year. And I said, it's now or never, and stop making the excuses of it's not the right time. And if there was ever a right time, I've got the network to be my net for a little bit, and I'm willing to risk it all.
Yeah. That self-confidence is amazing. That's good stuff. So now that you're here and you're in it and you're building your business, what sort of obstacles are you kind of facing, and how are you navigating around those?
Oh gosh, I mean, there's obstacles everywhere. That's just life in itself. So, I wake up and I am very focused and energetic and, working towards the dream, but the obstacles I hit it's timing sometimes, when you're talking to a client. I've been talking to clients for the past 3 weeks, and, they have budgets, they have planning on when they're going to have these, events or team building or workshops. And, I want them now, but that doesn't fit their schedule, even though they may want to work with me. So it's really just, you got to keep that pipeline so full at all times that if you have it so full, something will pop. It's like popcorn. Something's going to pop. It is. So that's just been, a struggle in the first 3 weeks that, it's okay. Timing, I can't control it. But if I hit enough, somebody's going to say yes to me. Somebody's going to like me.
Right. That makes perfect sense. So let's talk about some of the relationships you have built. Can you talk to how you've introduced strengths into a community of people or into a partnership that you have going right now? Tell me about how you built that.
Yes, absolutely. There's two that come to mind. And, along this way, you do a lot of work for free, obviously. Yep. And, that's how you learn. You get out there and you just raise your hand and you're like, use me. Let me show you what I can do. So I've made a couple of very key relationships over the past 6 to 7 months that, someone on that team believed in me. Her name is Janet, and she said, Kelly, I want you to do a workshop for me regarding something else as a speaking engagement.
Right.
And 3 weeks ago, she called me again, put her whole learning and development team on the phone with me and said, we are so behind the strengths movement based on everything we've seen and what we're seeing you do with it. Let's talk about doing this for the organization. So I'm working through that right now and, waiting for that to hopefully pop soon. But the other one I'm very passionate about that I have also fostered and nurtured that relationship just because I have a heart for it was a program called the Florida Endowment Foundation and Dream Jobbing. And that really centers around the kid space, students. And last year I did workshops using strengths coaching for groups of 10. And these are high school seniors that are in the bottom 20% of high schools. Wow. And that program focuses on helping them get to graduate. And that experience for me really taught me a lot about the power of what strengths can do. And we're looking at aligning and using that more throughout the organization to take this more into schools.
That's great. Yeah, education is a big space for Gallup. So
that's
great. Yeah, it's great. You're having great presence there.
Absolutely.
So as far as just some of the actual activities or tools that you're using, I know that you have a video you created. You're very involved in community. Can you give specific examples of the actual tools that you've put into place to help facilitate these conversations or build your network?
As far as social media and interacting videos. Okay, sure. So I guess you could call me a LinkedIn junkie. I don't know, but it's that belief. I just put reality out there, what it's like to be in the moment using strengths and capture moments of what it's like when I'm using my own or when I see somebody else using it and write about it around that moment. And I think it's the authenticity behind it. So I would say the tool that is invaluable to me is LinkedIn. Incredible. And then I signed up to be a host for the LinkedIn local events that are just igniting all over the world. And those allow me to, open up and speak about strengths and share with a group of, great people that all have like-minded thoughts about what is strengths. And I get questions and people pull me aside and then they want to know about it. So it's the human connection and just telling people about it. I think there's nothing better than having conversation and telling people what you love doing, because they're going to say, I want to love doing something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or how do I get to love something as much as you do? So that's powerful.
Yeah. Your belief is so clear.
Yes,
Your sense of mission is so clear.
Yes, absolutely. Purpose. It's about purpose.
That's great. So talk to me a little bit more about and using your strengths and kind of driving your vision. How do you lean into your strengths to create a strategic vision for yourself?
Sure, absolutely. So, just leading with futuristic, number one, that vision is right here in front of me every single day. It's so natural for me. And I see, I remember being in my certification class, I'm sure the team will remember this too, that was with me, is I immediately pulled the picture card of a girl standing on stage speaking to thousands of people. I immediately parted that with, that's going to be me speaking and doing what I love, 5 years from now. So I lean on that so much, and I'm constantly visualizing what my future self will be doing, because I think there's a lot in that manifestation anyway. If you think about what you'll be doing, it leads you there into the right places. The activator just ignites me all the time to get going. The arranger, I can juggle so many different things and balls in the air that if I don't have enough going on, I'm bored out of my mind. Yeah. And a lot of people have said, I don't know how you're doing it. You got 2 small kids, you've got, a great husband, you've got a great corporate job, you're networking 5 nights a week, and you're studying leadership development. How you doing? I'm like, it just that doesn't seem like a lot to me.
Yeah.
And then that belief, it is absolutely powerful in me because I want to do meaningful work. It's not about being in a spotlight. It is about helping people become the best version of themselves. So I lean into all of those and I just go do it.
Yeah. Makes sense. So we talk a lot about strengths having balcony and basements, right? Do you feel like your strengths ever get in the way at all of?
Oh my God, I trip over myself all the time. Like all the time. I call my friend Stacy that was with me in certification. I don't know if she's on the call today, but my least is adaptability. And my number one is futuristic, and her number one is adaptability. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't know how you think about this here and now stuff. Like, I can't even do it. I'm like, bring me back to the here and now because you got to help me. I'm thinking 10 years away from now. Yeah. So I trip over that all the time. Maximizer, which I know you have that as number one, right?
Yeah.
Maximizer is like controlling. It's like a leash on me.
Yeah.
It's everything has to be perfect. There is no average. Mediocrity is like, oh my God, I want to puke right now. I can't even think about that. It's just, I trip over that all the time. But I think looking at my leadership role at my past position, Activator caught me a lot. I would walk in and ready to light the world on fire, bring that energy into a meeting, and the analytical and the disciplines and the focuses in the room, they were like, what are you even talking about? Tone it down there, sunshine. So, you've got to just really be aware. And once I figured out that was an issue and I knew how they needed to be led, then it shifted how I thought.
So what you said there about your friend that has adaptability high, just kind of sparked something. So as you're building and you're growing, so for you, what are some strategic partnerships that you think will be helpful for you in growing your business?
Goodness. Well, you would be one. And Jim as well, of course. But just really, I know what I'm not good at. So I have leaned into the core group that we took the certification class together. There are 11 or 12 of us. And literally, we lean into each other all the time. And we all complement what we can't do. We have, monthly mastermind calls and we talk through situations and we delegate who can handle this. As I'm building my menu of services right now, I reached out to my good friend Mona, that is a strengths coach too. And she was able to dissect my menu and give me a better way to word it where I didn't have the patience to do that. Yeah. So I'm not afraid to say I can't do something because I'm not good at it. I'd rather just do what I'm great and help someone that loves doing what I don't.
Yeah. It's great. So I have some questions here that were top of mind for prepping for this session that people might be interested to hear more about from you. Okay. So I have one here that I think you'll be able to talk really well too. So can you tell me a little bit more about the most powerful or transforming coaching conversation or partnership you've had and why?
Okay. That would take me into Puerto Rico.
Okay.
A manager that I'm very fond of, and she's just a beautiful person. Well, she was highly engaged in doing this strengths class because, she had a decent sized team for our company, 9 or 10 people, and she just wasn't connecting, and getting everything she thought she could get from a leader perspective. And I remember vividly. We were sitting around the table, all of us, there were 10 of us, and we were doing the picture cards. And she picked the picture card that has the mother hugging the newborn baby. And I think the father looking at it, and he was all swaddled. And she immediately started crying, immediately. And they'd not seen that side of her. And the room paused. And it was that moment of, oh my God, as a coach, what do I do? I've not had this happen before. I'm like, where does it say what I do with crying? I just went, it was such a special moment that her team listened to her at that moment where she said, I know I've been seeing everyone in a way that I see you, but not the way you see yourself. And immediately the defenses went down. The whole team needed a box of Kleenex, and the team started talking with her in a whole different light because they're like, oh my gosh, she's human too. She's crying. We love her, but we've not seen that side of her because she's so focused on getting to that goal that she hasn't stopped to look around and say, we don't work that way.
Yeah.
And I've been in conversation with her since, and just how she's been so strategic in shifting how she uses the team. I love hearing those success stories afterwards where someone, has really shifted their way that they have added value to the team because of how she now works with them. That's special to me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. So I use this a lot in my mission and speaking, just how important that manager is to the relationship, of the organization and really helping their teams. I mean, they account for 70% of the engagement for their teams. And so that's really incredible to hear that, it really stuck with her and how much it changed her team.
Oh, absolutely. And just, I've gotten emails from, a couple other employees I went through that just really said, I think I'm finding my purpose through this.
Yeah.
And when you hear somebody say that to you and you've been able to be a catalyst in helping them find that, I get chills right now. Like that is all about what this is. And you can change people's lives when you help them in that journey.
Yeah. So a famous Kelly Merbler quote is, I believe I'm going to say it right, but correct me if I'm wrong.
Oh boy.
Is in order to find your purpose, you have to lose it first. So tell me a little bit about why that sticks with you and how that's, driven you and what that really means to you.
Absolutely. I love writing quotes. I think the belief shines in me when I'm doing that to kind of see how I'm feeling at that moment. But 18 years into my career, I'm looking at my desk, planning my next year goals. Ritual for me every single year in December. Reflection time. What am I going to do next year? Surrounded by crystal awards that I've collected. And they're all beautiful. They really, I just think they're amazing. But there was a shift where I looked at those awards at that moment, and I said, they're not as shiny as they used to be. Something's off. And I didn't feel that spark inside that I had always said, I'm going to get top salesperson next year and I want to have the best team. It was very focused around what I wanted. And I don't know, I just was going through a challenging time in my life with, losing my mom, and it made me really look at life differently. And I said, you know what? Life is not about chasing trophies. I said, you can't take them with you. Nobody sees a U-Haul behind a hearse. And I'm like, what am I living here for? And I finally started to question. I said, there's something bigger out there that I'm supposed to do. And how the heck do I find it? And I went on a quest to figure that out. And that's when I think sometimes you have to lose the purpose that you've been identified with for so long. 18 years, that's what I was known. Money Merbler, go get the trophy. And I said, that's not who I'm supposed to be. And I said, I have to lose that, because sometimes you have to let go of the familiar to transform into who you're supposed to be.
Yeah, I love that. It's an incredible story, Kelly. Very, very cool. So when you think about building on your purpose and your mission, tell me what that vision looks like for you. So in 5, 10, and this is a futuristic question, probably not one that I would do well with because I have adaptability high.
Okay. Yes.
But I think it's interesting to see, as you do lead with futuristic and you are driving towards, you've had so many accomplishments, you've had so many achievements, and now you're taking on this whole new mission, and it's incredibly exciting. So what does success look like to you in 5, 10, 15 years?
That word success, I almost don't like it anymore, honestly, because this whole transformation in me was all about chasing success. And my future and my vision of what I see now is I'm not the girl that's chasing success anymore. I'm a girl that's chasing significance. And I want to create significant impact. I don't care if it's with 10 people or millions of people, but I see myself somehow in some platform being on either a stage or working within companies to just help people tap into that inspiration and that purpose that I found, because so many are lost, don't know how to get out of that rut when they're stuck, and their flame is dying out. So I see whether it could be the millennial generation. It could be the student population. I want to do it all being the arranger, don't get me wrong, but, and I'd love to do it all, but wherever I can see myself making a significant impact, I just want to leave that for people to carry on.
Mm-hmm. It's great. Yeah. So millennials, you bring up an interesting topic, which is a buzz topic. By 2020, they're going to be 70% of the workforce.
Yes.
So, and I hear you have experience in education and your world of staffing and kind of bringing in people into organizations. So, I mean, do you have an idea of how coaching is different for millennials than it might be for other generations in your experience? Is there any difference there in your approach?
It's very different to me. And you were in staffing and you know that, a lot of staffing is millennials now. So in 70% coming in, you better learn how to work with them. So it is very different than your baby boomers and your, my generation, which I just missed the millennial cutoff. So dang it. But
Kelly, just own it. Actually, I call myself a millennial all the time. I'm like, hey, I might be the oldest millennial you've ever met. I want the same thing, to be honest, though. The generation ahead of that, right?
Yeah.
Us Xers, we really want the same things the millennials want, to be honest.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I know some of the folks in this see a difference in the millennial generation just because they're so present today.
Yeah.
But don't be fooled. Your Xers, even your late boomers, they do want some of those same things that these millennials are asking for. So just make sure you don't miss. Sometimes we get so millennial focused.
Yep.
We miss the fact that, hey, they're asking for great stuff we wish we could have had. And now we're wanting it. So
yes, absolutely. I think they're brave. Like they're not afraid to show who they really are, and try new things where sometimes, us or the baby boomers, we get, we're used to, our parents, you worked at the same place for 20 years. That was how you got a job and you stayed with it. The millennials, they go off and they try so many different things, which, gosh, that really taps into strengths. Figure out what you're really good at, instead of staying in one place for so long and just doing it because that's what you were supposed to do.
Right.
But I think you're right, Jim, in that point, because people do want the same thing. People are people. They want to be loved. They want to know they're cared for, and they want to know that they make a difference. I think that's pretty universal. So, as I was working with millennials, it actually, when you say that, you made me think, because they were asking the same things that my baby boomer team members wanted. And they just want to know that they make a difference and you have heard them. So listen, we have 2 ears for a reason. People want to know they've been heard.
Yeah, I think as we look at our Q12 data, when we think about engagement and we measure that group, I'm not sure those disengaging measures, I'm not sure they change that much across generations. It's the same kind of, we look for those. I love the flexibility at the workplace. I love the open culture. I love the ability to kind of move around, to create my own, create my own job. Kelly and I were talking about that kind of in pre-show. And so I think there's some great opportunities for managers to learn from this current generation. They're certainly in mass, and so they're leading the charge just in sheer numbers. But I think there's some opportunities to listen to them, and yet we have to, probably better than I, we have to manage those expectations as well. We kind of have a running joke going around the group, like, hey, today I called in, I'm working from work today. And there are times, right, that the work from home culture can be like, that has to be managed just like it is managed for anybody else. And so as we think about managers and we think about coaching, we still have those tendencies. At the end of the day, I love they called you money Merbler, right? That's a mark of success, right? We still, even though you said you want to get away from that word success, I think it's super important as a coach, right? You're leading these people to their success measurements. What does success mean for you? And it's a little bit different for everybody, right?
Right.
Something is, nobody wants to be managed. I mean, people don't want to be managed. They want to be led. And I learned this from my mentor, John Maxwell, is, don't be a manager, be a leader. People don't want a travel agent. They want a tour guide. And when you dissect that, they don't want you to point and say, go do that when you've not even been there yourself. Right. People want you to go with them through the journey. So be a leader, lead them as a tour guide through the experiences, through your experiences. Millennials and whatever, they want to coach. They don't want to be managed. And I always think, manage. If it has a thought, lead it. If it doesn't think, you manage it. So that's how I differentiate it. You manage processes. You lead people.
So true, Kelly. And that brings me to another point. I think expectation setting is so huge in building client relationships and really kind of leading people. So when you think about like expectation setting with your clients and with strengths, what are some questions that you're asking, or how do you kind of manage the expectations early on in the relationship development process?
Absolutely, and very important question, because you have to listen. Once again, you ask questions. Coaching is all about asking questions, whether it's a client or an individual. You ask, what do you want to gain out of this experience? What's your biggest problem? To try to figure out where it might align. What are your current strengths and your weaknesses of your department or the organization? And you just ask, and people organically start telling you what you need to learn to get behind that and say, okay, so now I've understood where you're coming from. I'm on your side of the desk. Let me share with you, in my experiences working with this client, they were in the same situation, and let me tell you how we worked through that. So give examples too. I think that's nice. It makes it more of reality for people that, they're not alone. And I think they can align with, wow, someone else or another company went through this. Well, what happened and how did you go about it?
Right.
So asking questions and listening to what they're saying.
Yeah. Jim, I can see your eyes over there. Do we have any questions coming in through the
Jim.
Through the chat room?
Through the chat room?
There's a few out there. I've got a few before we get started. So if you are listening live, now would be a great time to drop your questions in the chat room. Kelly, when you were when you were working with an organization, I think really important that as we think about strengths in organizations, we think about ROI and bringing a value back to them in strengths. Like, what does it just bring? It's more than a self-awareness exercise, because we know that it's great for about a day and then people go home and forget about it. But when we tie it to some metrics, what kind of in your organization, I'm going to ask you the question now as a coach as well, so be ready for that one. But in that organization before, how did you guys measure ROI, and what'd you kind of go after from a metrics point of view?
Sure. Loaded question. And ROI, I look at it as, it's not return on investment, it's return on the individual. So what am I getting from that individual that has shifted how they approach their job? So when I work specifically with my own teams, and I had about 26 people that directly were working with me, just were they making progress in a specific project or a KPI that we had them working with? And we'd sit down and we'd talk about that in weekly engagement of, how did that work for you? What didn't work? Well, how can you play into that strength? Or who do you need to work alongside of on the team to, get that to the next level? Simple retention was a great tool that we used. Did they stay? And honestly, sometimes going through this, people realize they were in the wrong fit. And that is okay. As a leader, I was like, I'm so glad we were able to figure this out together. So let me help you find the right opportunity that will play to those strengths. And a lot of leaders would handle that very differently. Get them out the door. We don't need them. But I have calls today with excellent clients because of nurturing those relationships and helping them find what they were really good at.
So as you think about where you're going with clients in the future, and you're pitching this is more than just a self-awareness exercise, right? What are you telling them, or what kind of methodology you're moving into to really kind of guide them through that experience and say, hey, this is going to be the return. I love that, by the way, return on the individual. Can't believe I hadn't thought of that before. That's an awesome statement. I'm sure
I
it's
can't take credit. I don't know where I saw that.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and especially in this context, that's a really good way
Yes.
to say it, right? Because that's what we're looking for. But as you're pitching this forward, what are you saying to your clients about, hey, this is what you could expect at it? Because we do, in some organizations, we do have to provide some measure, metric, something to them to say, hey, this is worth your time.
I am going to go very directly with them. I'm going to say, how invested are you as the leader in making this successful? And I mean, the metrics, I can tell you just from the 11 teams I worked with through my organization, the ones that had the most momentum from this were the leaders that were invested in having the momentum from it, and they practiced what they learned. And then there were a few that we had the workshop, super fun day, had a lot of laughs, had a lot of tears. And then on Monday morning, it's back to the grind. So the metrics are going to show when you've got a leader that is invested in the ROA of the process. And that's when you'll see the increased engagement. And when the employee that was going through that emails you or says, you know what, I can't thank you enough. I feel like I've been heard. I don't know how to measure that. It's not my strength, honestly, but I would have someone analytical working with me that can.
Actually, so Kelly has the answer. The other Kelly has the answer in our Q12 assessment. We see a lot of coaches come in and measure that Q12 first, and that's actually a really good partner in measuring that engagement. I think you know this instinctively, right? We've also got to ask some questions about their financials. Like, where do you want to be? Because if we're turning the levers right on strengths, we're going to see, according to Gallup Path, we're going to see an increase in value, right? We're going to see an increase in productivity. We're going to see these things jump. And I think there's some great opportunities as coaches jump in for the very first time to say, what financial metric matters to you? And let's measure that over time. What is it today? And then we're going to implement these things. And then let's continue to measure it at a month, 3 months, 6 months. Mike asked a question in chat that is perfect for this. He says, when you work with organizations, let's say you do a few of the team exercises, maybe a day or two of a summit, a couple months, a 2-hour meeting here, training there, you get asked to do all those things, right? What do you do to keep that ongoing? Because it's really important, we name it and claim it, but the really important thing is that aiming part of it. As you're starting to work with these clients, and maybe in your experience in the organization in the past, how do you keep that piece rolling month over month, day over day, week over week, month over month? What do you tell the organization?
Visualize, get those strengths in front of you throughout, start embedding in the culture. So we talk a lot about that. I did a workshop this summer for an organization that, is a VP of finance in their team, and, they wanted to start it, but we did a lot of things. We put it in their email address. That was the first thing, because that creates questions when they're emailing people. What is woo? What are you? Like, or I can tell you how many times it happened where someone would say, you did strengths. Oh my gosh, my top 5. So that creates that dialogue, and you're starting a culture there. Get it on your desk, get it on the wall, watch a video once a week. And that's what they've been doing. But as a coach, maybe I'm off their payroll at this point, but I'm invested in their success. And that's what good coaches do, is you stay with them as much as you can. Like, these people have become my friends, and my reputation is going to follow that. If I deliver, they're going to tell more people about me. So I look at it as, it's a big investment. Absolutely. But let's look at the investment of, do you have a 401k? So do you deposit into that 401k every month? Yes. Okay. So does it grow in 30 days? No. Okay. So what will happen in 10 years from you depositing $100 every month? It grows over time if you keep investing and pouring into it. Otherwise, if you stop investing into it, it's just stagnant. So I've got to have that conversation with that leader and say, I'm with you. I'm your tour guide. Let's go through it together, and let's do a week call or whatever. But if you don't have conversations, then it dies. Don't even waste your money.
Yeah, Kelly, actually, you have a really good clue. That's one of those engagement numbers is the 401k, to be honest.
Really?
As organizations, as people begin to get engaged in what they're doing,
Mhm.
they begin to give, they trust the organization more. They
Mhm.
gonna stay around. It's a super easy, a lot of people miss this. Super easy mark of engagement in an organization. What's my 401k giving based per capita? Like,
Yeah.
what's the average 401k contribution that's being given as people begin to get more engaged, as they realize their full potential, right? They actually get more productive. They make more, and they're more valuable to the organization, and their 401k numbers start to pop up. So there's an easy one.
Absolutely. That is the only reason I literally jumped off that cliff and I said, you know what, there is no net under me, but I'm like, I invested in myself and I'm putting action behind it and I'm going to make it work. So we just have to be invested in what our mission is.
Yeah. Well, think about the investment you made in yourself when you began to realize these things, and you said, hey, I'm going to make a complete change in my career. I mean, you made a radical, you're making a radical change. Francisco in the chat room, he's kind of asking, have you thought through, or are you thinking about, when we think about this area of leveraging this model, the strengths model, for hiring, developing, and retaining?
Mm-hmm.
The hiring piece we cover through selection, and we have a process for that. But when we think about development and retaining,
Mm-hmm.
when you're thinking about working with your clients in those areas, how are you talking about that from a development and retention standpoint?
Okay, such a good question. So first of all, yes, not a hiring tool. I was taught that, so I never used it as one, and I don't promote it as one. But coming from the staffing world, this plays in really nicely because this is where the consultant in me started to think. So I would have teams, or I would help sometimes with talent acquisition. So you go, and in the job market today, think about how hard it is to find good talent. So you go and you either pay a fee for a recruiter, or you spend all this money finding the right person through the fees that you're paying on job boards. You get a person in the job, and then the acquisition part is done. Okay, so I came in behind and I said, we can deliver the acquisition, but I can help with the activation. So I've got the key. And if you let me turn it on here, I can help you ignite it, where it's going to inspire and help you achieve what you need to do. So let me tell you the story of who you've hired, and let's dig in and learn what they say. And if I can come in from your partner from this angle, not only this angle, then I can help with that retention engagement, because it's the top 3 things people want to know about when we surveyed what clients want to know about today in this job market. How to hire good people. Number 1, I can't find them. Okay, well, great. You found them. How do you retain them? And how do you engage them? Because hire them, that's just the beginning. Retaining and engaging, that's the journey.
Yeah.
And that's where the magic comes in. And gosh, I love doing that. So if there's a staffing firm out there that wants to do that with me, I am here. Let's do it.
We know the stats, and I'm a recruiter as well. It's really, a lot of people, as they get to know what I do here at Gallup, they think that I do webcasts all day, and I actually do. But my real job is recruiting. It takes 1.5 times the person's salary who just departed to replace them. It's super expensive, right? Another, when we're looking at organizations and we're thinking about engagement numbers, right? How are strengths making a difference? We should see a decrease to what you just said. We should see a decrease in that recruiting and those recruiting numbers. In other words, it shouldn't be as expensive to recruit because I'm not having to work as hard, because I'm not as replacing as many people, right?
Right.
So that retention, again, is super easy numbers. I think sometimes people make too much. It's too hard, or they think it's too hard. It's like, no, guys, there's some really easy numbers that you can pull in. Kelly, we're coming in for a landing here, and so Kelly Haas, I want to send it back to you for any final questions and make sure we thank Money here.
Yeah,
for coming on.
Money Merbler.
That's so funny.
Kelly, I do really want to thank you so much for giving your time with us this morning. Again, you do have such a magnetic personality. I think you're going to make such a big footprint in your community, and just want to thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you for believing in me.
Yeah.
That's all I ask. Thank you.
Kelly, I am a little jealous. It's a little warmer where you are than where we are. So, but thank you. I'll say thank you for coming out. Some great information. I'll encourage folks to, if they're listening live, sometimes the chat room can be a little distracting. if you're listening live, go back and listen to this again. You might find a whole bunch of things in there that you take notes out. But Kelly, thanks for joining us. You helped us kind of kick off the U.S. version of Called to Coach this year. This is the first one we've done in the United States this year. And so thanks for being on.
So cool.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. Jim, you're a rock star. We are so glad.
Thanks a ton, but it's just a job to do. So I appreciate you you being
the God of Gallup
as well. We will remind everyone to take full advantage of all the resources we have available at the Gallup Strengths Center, just gallupstrengthscenter.com. Send us your questions or comments if you'd like to be a guest blogger. If you got 400 to 600 words of something you want to say about strengths coaching, something along those lines, we'd love to hear from you. Send us an email, coaching@gallup.com, put guest blogger in the subject line. Send that over to us and we'll consider it. Doesn't have to be perfect. We'll kind of help you with it, but we'd love to see that content if you're interested in doing it. You can also catch the recorded audio and video of this program, as well as all the past ones we've done. Some, I don't know, 400 or 500, something like that, are available for you. Hundreds of hours of professional development are available for you out there. Head out to our blog, coaching.gallup.com. If you're interested in becoming a Gallup Certified Strengths Coach, maybe this is the first time you've heard about that, and you're like, how do I become a part of this? How do I think about becoming a Gallup Certified Strengths Coach? A list of all our courses that lead to our certifications. And we have a bunch of courses that don't necessarily lead to a certification, but would be great around your management and coaching and some of those other things. They're all on our courses page. Head out to courses.gallup.com. Early here in 2018, we are prepping for the 2018 Clifton Strength Summit. And so if you're interested in coming out and joining 1,000 plus as we kind of party together here in Omaha, July 16th through the 18th, it's always a great time. We'd love to have you join us. More information on our summit is available, CliftonStrengthSummit.com. Join us on our Facebook page as well. Gallup Webcast, everything we do is out there. We post it, and even the events coming up are available. Just go out to Facebook and search Gallup Webcast. We'd love to have you join that group. We'd like to thank you for joining us today. And with that, we'll say goodbye, everybody.